There's a lot of specific design challenges on any film, and especially this one. This is an unusual brief.
When I started the film, I wanted to implement as much real-world stuff as I could, to have the movie have this kind of this grounded feel.
The main challenge actually for this movie is making it just as gritty and true to life as stuff that was shot by Neil.
You have your aliens, and obviously the question is going to be, from somebody, do the aliens have sex? How do they reproduce?
It's always a nervous moment seeing your sets on camera for the first time.
There's two levels that the science fiction gets merged with reality. I mean, visually and then conceptually.
Neil had this film rattling around his head for a few years, and he's very, very interested in the design process. So when I first came on board, he had a whole heap of reference stuff that he went, here you go, check this out.
The process starts with drawings, the basic drawings done by Greg Broadmoor, and then they went into 3D design, which David Ming was doing, and that's sort of sculpting. And as Neil saw these things in 3D, then he was able to say, yes, more of that, less of that, more of that.
Most of the design in the film was done by Weta Workshop in New Zealand. And then as we got into, closer to actual production, Phil Ivey and the art department team that actually built the sets and some of the props were involved in design as well. But there's an artist at Weta, Greg Broadmoor, who did a lot of the alien technology.
Yeah, pre-production, I mean, that's part of the film, of course, that me and Larry and Dave and all the design team are most involved with. Just visualizing everything in the film, trying to get a feel for what we're actually going to be looking at. I mean, that goes down from the smallest thing, like the little fuel cells that we made, through to the saucer and the interiors and all the shape language that goes into everything, the alien culture, what they're dressed in, what their biology is.
He was responsible for a lot of the alien technology, and we spent a long time. I mean, the whole of 2007 when we were developing the idea, we did literally thousands of illustrations. And so the weaponry was his department.
There are all kinds of weapons equipment designed for District 9. Some of it veered from being very obviously like weaponry, it looks like military firearms, but in this, that's another thing, another aspect of the design is that it had to, there's no camouflage. It's actually quite a high contrast, obvious item, and there's a very machined, almost mass market look to it, which I wanted to get in there, because I want the alien technology to feel corporate as well.
This is high technology from another world, another galaxy, but existing in the physical space of Earth in a believable way.
This is Christmas, my friends. This is the biggest find that I've ever seen.
And then the organic stuff, the alien was, it's gone through many iterations as well. There's hundreds of illustrations of the alien. And I very clearly wanted to have this insect aspect to it.
Well, throughout the entire design process of the creature, we were really very intensely art directed by Neil. He worked with us very closely to make sure that the final creature that ended up on screen was very much his own vision.
When Neil talked to us about what he was looking for with the aliens, he was very specific in that he wanted them to have the feeling of insects that are different than a lot of the sort of aliens that we've seen in the past. He wanted to keep it very colorful and sort of contrasty, bright colors that sort of would stand out as being, something definitely non-reptilian or anything like that. Something just you don't see at that size ever really on Earth.
In the beginning, we had a whole bunch of illustrations, and as we started to refine it, it started to become something that had this insect quality, but it was bipedal. And then once we got into the insect idea, it was, well, could it have different colors, like a beetle, or a bee, or a wasp?
Oh, what is it? Check it on the side. Check it on the side there. That's it. Control, it's Wikus van Merwe. I need a population control team at
The alien eggs were designed really early on, actually. And they had to be a classic archetype. They had to be instantly recognisable.
Now, the idea behind the egg is that it's quite a unique form of reproducing. The alien is asexual. They are also excreting waste, which we do with various things. We've got pus, and then a dark alien blood, and then again our oily goo, and then just clear like KY jelly, just to give them that feeling that they are a three-dimensional, translucent, sweating alien thing.
They make their egg and they lay it, but then the question is well, how, if the egg's somewhere else, you know, how have they adapted to, because in the ship, the eggs would be put in an area and looked after by the dominant race. So here, they've had to figure out a way to do it. So we decided they use animal carcasses.
The look that Neil was going for was, he wanted the sci-fi to be familiar, and the fact that it was in a third world country in a shanty town is the unfamiliar thing for the audience. So we drew inspiration from many films over the last 15, 20 years, from Alien through to Alien Resurrection, which had some absolutely amazing sets.
Almost like late 70s and 80s science fiction. All of the films that come from that era have a very particular design look about them. And we consciously try to put some of that design geometry into the stuff that we were doing. So a lot of the designs, the spaceships, some of the alien environments, the inside of the mothership, a lot of that will have hints of classic science fiction that was the 70s and the 80s.
We wanted it to be dark, damp, humid. You wanted it to feel as though the ship is still alive, at rest but still alive. The feeling that humans have been boring through it for like 20 years, so that all that rubbish that's in there, first of all, it started as alien rubbish, but then it's become human rubbish. The place is an absolute pigsty.
The biggest challenge with something that's as big as the mothership, which is about 2 to 2.5 kilometers in diameter, is to make something that's that scale look realistic. Because it has a lot of detail, but you don't see the detail directly because it's so huge. The design inspiration for the mothership was basically large refineries, like oil refineries and gas refineries and stuff like that.
And so it had to be hyper detailed. I also wanted to make it feel like a refinery, which was something that went through all the design work. Had to feel like it was potentially something that could stop on a ship and start mining resources. So look underneath it, it's just covered in scaffolding and piping and big reservoirs of ore and fuel.
It's how it interacts with the atmosphere or something that big, you know. You see stuff on the ground and it sort of goes off into the distance and it gets more atmospheric. It's how it sort of fades away, you know, around sort of as it goes away from where you are.
Behind me are the first components of the dropship, which has come from the mothership, has landed underneath CJ's shack, and he's quietly been working on for the last 10, 15 years.
Being a ship that had been compacted under the earth for 20 odd years or 15 years, needed to have a very cramped feel about it.
This whole thing's under your shack. For 20 years you've had this fucking thing hidden down here. This is very illegal. I mean, this is a fine, you know.
So inside the story, you have this major multinational company, which is called Multinational United, which in my mind is sort of a conglomeration of most of the world's big companies that has won all of the rights and the patents and, you know, everything that they will be able to glean from the alien technology. But in return, it's not the United Nations, it's our own form of the United Nations, has stated that they're then also responsible for looking after the aliens. It has this other element of private military contractors and everything being privatized, and the idea of privatized police and privatized zoning, and, you know, it's more and more gets taken away from the South African government and more gets put into the hands of this kind of ethicless and moralless huge conglomerate.
What we designed there was their heavy armour, which again was playing to all the Eminu, clean, white, and simple, benign looking. So their armour is quite futuristic. It has some allusions to the alien stuff because I wanted it to be, you know, really make that connection that Eminu had obviously been trying to understand the alien technology.
First Reaction Battalion and those mercenaries are based on a South African company that was very involved in Africa in the 90s.
Rights groups have demanded that mercenaries should comply with all UIO regulations in District 9.
When we came across Chihuahua, it was very much in a state of flux, people being moved out, so a lot of shacks had been felled. So we went through a whole process of designing a town that was going to suit our needs in terms of geography for fight action or just general eviction stuff. We went through this whole process of buying shacks from people that were living there and moving them using their materials.
I think for the entire script, 95% of the props, it's around here. You understand? Because seeing that the film is more about filth, you understand? And all the things, you understand? 95% of the stuff is all around here.
Contractors are closing in on the Nigerian compound.
All of the special effects in the film they're not groundbreaking special effects in terms of pushing new technology or new software, but the exosuit itself is a slightly unique concept in the way that it's portrayed.
You've got to think of it from every angle, how it's actually going to move, and you know that you're probably, as you're designing these things, you're probably creating more problems than you're solving.
When Wikus gets into the suit, this is an extension of himself, so suddenly we have to start paying attention to his body language, the way he runs, the way he pauses, the way he tilts his head, and we ended up shooting reference footage of Wikus performing.
Yeah, I'm immensely proud of my construction team. I scared the hell out of them with the first set of plans I gave them, but they really rose to the occasion. I've had a lot of fun with them, and their quality has been fantastic.
The whole experience was rewarding in a sense of being able to achieve what we did with the script in that environment for such a long time.
I don't think we've seen anything really like this before, where it's just you're in a world that's completely normal, except that there's aliens and spaceships in the sky and stuff like that. And that's something that you don't really see that often, and I think it's something that District 9 really, has done that will stand out.
As the work evolved and developed, there's been a nice transition of the work through the different departments, and I feel for the most part went very smoothly, and what we'll see is a world that feels like it was developed as a singular process, with Neil leading the way through all the challenges that come from a physical and a digital marriage.